Okay, so it's very strange for me to be a painter because I was trained as an architect, and so I always struggled with the problems between 2 and 3 dimensions. And so I started painting years ago and working mostly in 2 dimensions and became frustrated with it or felt something was missing and started building off of the page. And so I started becoming slightly more 3-dimensional. I call it 2.5D. And that's the 2.5D lets me build like an architect and paint like a painter, and maybe in a decade I'll reconcile the two, but I don't know if they'll ever fully see eye to eye. I like to look at the stars. So I enjoy the stories and narratives behind constellations. So I call a lot of my work constellations because I'm trying to find the connections between them. And I always work in a series for a pragmatic reason, is so I don't get so stuck on one piece and it doesn't become so precious. But for a kind of artistic reason is it lets me see lots of things at one time. And I'll work in an assembly line fashion and do all the blues on that series. The cloud constellation is 22 paintings, drawings, watercolor drawings is what I call them. And I'll do all the blues and then go back and do all the reds and then punch all the holes and stitch all the wool. And each step, and I do it through all 22. And that lets none of them become precious, and it also allows them to be, allows me to look at lots of things at one time. And so the drawings I have upstairs are cloud constellations. When I was in Iceland 2 years ago, I was captivated by the landscape. Clouds, mists, volcanic rocks, green, just the amazing amount of green and blues and grays. And there's a lot of orange in the paintings because during the summer they do a lot of road construction. And so the orange, safety orange, is a very common color in Iceland in the summers. So that's why there's orange in the paintings. But a friend of mine in criminology talked about how fingerprints are done in the criminal justice system. And what it does is it takes a snapshot of each individual finger and makes a shape. But I use the same technology from photographs of clouds. So the clouds were a culprit for just 1 second, 1 instant, and I captured them with a camera and then took a fingerprint of theirs. And you'll notice dots and lines that make this fingerprint of the cloud. Then I figured, just like any criminal or any of us, we're more than our fingerprints. So I added gestures that were the shapes of the clouds, right? What the suspect was wearing that day. And then I built in some other things, the wooden elements that were like wind and sun and temperature. And then because it's Iceland and it's full of sheep, I think there's, well, I'll not say because I don't know. I was gonna say it's like 5 times as many sheep as people, but I don't know if that's Iceland or Ireland, one of the two. Don't put that in the thing. So there's a lot of sheep, and so since sheep are soft and kind of look like these clouds in the landscape, I collected some wool. I collected some wool and then made little cloud shapes and stitched that into the fabric of the drawing. So these are, in a way, mugshots of clouds. I don't know, maybe I think the essence of the landscape is people's stories or narratives or tales. And so I'm trying to do this again with mythological figures or characters. The next series I want to start, I hope, can be about maybe oral histories, perhaps, but I'm not sure how to do it. I'm really not. I will figure out a way to use the same fingerprint technique, the same layering technique, pieces of wood, I'm sure, but just what it will look like, I don't know. My name's John Humphreys, and currently I teach at Miami University in the School of Architecture and Interior Design, but most days I prefer to paint and work in the garden.
So my name is Katie Toscher, and I'm from Bloomington Normal. My artwork is, well, I work in clay, and I also do drawing and collage. work on paper as well. I make functional ceramic work, and I really like to work in function because I know that it's going to be used, and people are going to interact with it differently than they will with my 2D work. You know, that people are going to get to touch it and feel it and wash it, and it's going to be a part of their daily life in a different way. So, and I like using that really crisp, clean, what's thought of as kind of like a delicate, hard to work with clay body in this really organic and very sort of fudgy, primitive kind of building process. I think they pair in a kind of an interesting way. And the porcelain really, that crisp clay body really captures those fingerprints nicely, really holds that print well. So the clay body that I use is porcelain, and it's for a long time been revered as this really nice white, crisp clay body. Over history has been really sought after. So in my 2D work, I like to do a lot of collage, and with that, I'm attracted to materials that I just find and pick up around something that I'm like, oh, this is probably a piece of garbage paper, but it just looks so beautiful and I want to use it. And with ceramic material, it's a little bit different because it has to go through that firing process. It has to be something specific to use for that. But where that kind of comes in, those decals you can purchase them out in the world, and the manufacturer usually it'll be in a sheet, and the manufacturer will have in the corner some, sort of little text that, relates to them or has something to do with their, how they catalog things, or has some sort of little copyright mark or something like that. And so I'll try to use the entirety of the decal, even if it's being cut up, and then that little bit of text, I just can't even throw that away. So I have to find some way to work that in a sort of collaging sort of situation on the cups. Well, I think we're really lucky to have the McLean County Art Center here in town. I feel like it's does a lot for our arts community, both with the classes that are offered, but also to provide an excellent space to show work in. And I feel really honored and excited to be showing here.